Hello and welcome back to Alice Talks Football, and I do apologise for any delays to the stream. My Wi-Fi was just like, yeah, we're going to play up just before you're going to go live, but welcome back to another live news show. We've got lots of transfer news to go through, takeover news to go through. Fabrizio Romano has come out with a very detailed sort of interview with the United stand where he's dropped over some of United's plans. The takeover is basically confirmed as done. We're going to be talking Martial exits, Varane exits, Andre Todibo, João Neves, and more linked with United. Could United be signing anyone in January and more? But please do hit that like button, guys. And of course, subscribe down below if you're new. We've got a big presentation to get through and also get involved in the live chat, as you can see here. So hopefully that is nice and clear on the screen for you guys. And as you can see, some of the topics we'll be discussing in today's video is the takeover, the changes that's going to be made, what Romano has said. A lot of this stuff has basically come from Fabrizio Romano's mouth, so it isn't take it with a pinch of salt BS news. We're talking real credible news today. No fake Griezmann links, no idiots saying we're going to buy Griezmann. We're talking proper news. And then we are going to have an in-depth conversation about a few players linked to United. But big up everybody in the chat. Do get involved. Do get your comments in down below, of course. And also a question for everyone. If you had 60 million to spend in January, where would it go? Mine would be on Todibo and Nico Williams. We'll talk about that later. But it's interesting to know. And then another question we'll get into later is ranking the right wing options at Manchester United. But let's dive into the news. Big up everybody. What is the first story coming out? The first story is basically confirmation that the takeover is done. We're going to whiz through this because it's not particularly relevant. We know the takeover is done, but Fabrizio Romano said the official Sergio INEOS announcement should be this week, possibly in the next couple of days. The fact that Romano is saying that, I mean, that's confirmation in itself that it's done. We're waiting for an announcement. It's like when we get Here We Go from Romano, but we haven't got Man United announcing the player on their Instagram. It's kind of like that with the takeover. We've got the Here We Go. We know it's happening. We're just waiting for the Man United announcement. And then we've also got Phil, who goes by Malachins on, of course, Twitter. He has a lot of inside information on Manchester United. He was the guy that actually said in like September, October of last year that he'd been hearing from people inside the club that they were going to put Man United on the market. And then 2 months later, Man United got out on the market. He has really good inside sources to United. And he said that Sergio Ratcliffe's 25% stake in Manchester United is a done deal. And INEOS are aware that the club needs enormous work internally. He actually said a lot more detail than that. I just got this from an aggregator account, but he actually went into a little bit more detail from what he was hearing, that essentially the takeover was done. I will dive into a little bit what he said. He said individuals with knowledge of the situation confirming this morning that the INEOS deal is now done. They are aware that the club needs an enormous amount of work internally, which of course is obvious. It illustrates the amount of decay that's been allowed to happen over the years and the culture of leading staff working towards their own self-interest while putting the club last. Incredible what Ten Hag, his predecessors and players have had to deal with internally, with a complete betrayal of the club, was his exact words. And we know the United Muppeteers are going to come out with an update on the situation. Even the last bits of the takeover are dragging on. These official announcements already. It's Man United. Man United are the slowest club in the world. Even this takeover that we know is done, we've dragged out. I don't know why we drag everything out, but we are the slowest club in the world. We are going to talk about this. Fabrizio Romano said that the Casemiro exit rumours are overblown, but there are some suggestions that Varane could actually leave. We are going to get into that as well. But let's get into the interesting stories. What has Fabrizio Romano said on the Manchester United takeover? Fabrizio has said that internal discussions and meetings are ongoing regarding new Manchester United officials such as a sporting director and CEO, and Sergio Ratcliffe wants to send a strong message by shaking up the board. He said a new CEO for Man United is the priority. Jean-Claude Blanc is 90% likely to be the man, but nothing is done yet, despite rumours saying the deal is done. And he said at the moment there's no worries regarding Erik ten Hag's future at Man United. While he wants to make changes, Sergio Ratcliffe doesn't want to make changes to every department for the sake of it. So what Fabrizio Romano has basically said is a lot of things that we already know, but it's like it's coming from Fabrizio Romano, so it brings that extra level of credibility to it because the information, the news, the reports is coming right from Fabrizio Romano, and he is literally saying Ratcliffe's coming in, he wants to make changes, he is going to bring in a new sporting director, bye-bye Murta, he is going to bring in a new CEO, bye-bye Arnold, probably Blanc, probably Mitchell. That is coming from Romano's mouth, which says it's going to happen. He said, as of now, Ten Hag's future is safe. So Jim wants to change a lot at United, but he's not just going to change the manager for the sake of it. There were suggestions that he might change Ten Hag at the end of the season, give him 6 months, kind of like how Tuchel got under Bowie and then changed the manager and the long-term strategy. It is said that Graham Potter is a manager they're keeping an eye on, which for me, I would rather stick with Ten Hag and give Ten Hag the time. It took Fergie 5 years to win stuff at United. It's going to take a while. I'm actually think, Arteta took 4 years before he even challenged for the league. So I always think, actually, let's give the manager time. He's had a lot of injuries. We are grinding out results. Luke Shaw back, Martinez back will be a big boost. That's back in January. But it looks like other departments are going to change. And that's basically been confirmed as well. All of these months, and we don't have a deal with the takeover anymore. I hope it's done now. I mean, it is done. We're just waiting for the announcement as well. Swap Greenwood for Nico Williams and would be a good move. I mean, I wonder if we could actually do that. I know Getafe want Greenwood. I wonder if Bilbao would want Greenwood, because that could be a potential move that United could explore. Because there was rumours that we were going to use Greenwood in the deal for Højlund, and then that never went through. And then I say Todibo for me, because of the rumours of Varane's on settlement, I think Todibo would be the one I would go for in January as well. Sack the clowns and get the professionals in, says Jacko. I agree as well. And Martial and Varane are not for the future project. They're injury-prone players. Yeah, Martial and Varane are the two players that look like they could be leaving in January, and we're going to get into that in a second as well. But let me know in the chat who you bring in. I'd say Todibo and Nico Williams. So we're going to talk about the transfer out. I feel like the takeover news is a bit repetitive. We're essentially with this takeover just waiting for the announcement. It's like, can you just announce the bloody takeover, please? But we have got news, we've got information going about. And Fabrizio Romano said a few interesting things. We've got 2 slides on Varane and Martial. There's a bit more coming out on Varane and Martial's exit, but it was said by Romano, a potential exit for Casemiro in January is being exaggerated by the media. While he's had a slow start to the season, a move away isn't imminent. So he's saying, look, Casemiro, he's probably not going anywhere in January. Casemiro's not even back to full fitness till January. I think the possibility of leaving is small, especially with the problems we've had in midfield. I don't think Casemiro's going anywhere. And I think once he's got the defensive backline as well, he'll probably be better. However, Fabrizio Romano did say at the moment there isn't anything advanced with Rafa Varane and Saudi clubs, but there is interest. He's saying, it's not going to happen with Casemiro. He's saying nothing's happening with Varane, but there's still that possibility something could happen with Varane. He was kind of potentially suggesting. Now, an interesting thing that came out from Plettigol today on Rafa Varane was that Rafa Varane has been discussed at FC Bayern as a potential January target. The internal option is the Frenchman is an interesting player. However, a move could be unrealistic, not a hot topic at the moment. Varane earns high wages at United. The Frenchman is unhappy with the situation at United and wants to leave. Price tag expected to be about, I reckon we'll get 25 million for Varane. And I think because he's 30, because we can't seem to make more than 5 million selling anyone, I think you take about 25 million pounds for Varane to Bayern Munich. He's 30 and you go, let's see if we can invest that in Todibo. I don't think United would sell Varane in January unless they knew they could bring in Todibo or someone else. I mean, I'm hoping it would be Todibo. We are looking at Braithwaite and Antonio Silva, but I think they would be more expensive. I don't think Tapsoba is the right profile to what we need. But I think Varane leaving in January is a possibility. Varane and Martial leaving in January, and we're going to get into this on what Romano said, could potentially fund sort of Man United's future projects and ideas as well. Alice, did you see the concrete falling from the roof of Old Trafford? I did. There's video. There's more. Do you know what, guys? It's not even like news anymore, because every week there's a video, there's a story, there's something going around about Manchester United. Every single week there's something going around about United and the state of the facilities and the state of the pitch. I know it sounds really bad, but I'm at that point right now where I'm thinking, all right, there's more concrete falling at Old Trafford. Oh, what's new? What's new? I mean, the state of this stadium is a mess. You think biggest club in England, we're Man United, and we're an absolute mess. It's an absolute disgrace, the neglect from these owners. This is why I want a full sale. This is why these owners need to go as well. Great to hear that D Fletcher might be going as well. I wonder who our new tracksuit, who will model our new tracksuit then. Yeah, I think no one knows what Darren Fletcher does. His sons are in the academy who are actually quite good, particularly one of them. Is it Tyler that's the good one? No one really knows what Darren Fletcher's doing as well. We'll continue on as well. Hope Martial stays. I mean, he's going to leave in the summer on a free, so we can sell him in January and use that to fund someone like Nico Williams, who isn't an actual Martial replacement. He's a right winger. I think that's the best thing we can do, personally, in my opinion, as well. Someone's going to get seriously injured at Old Trafford if these renovations don't get started exactly. And it's just one of those things where we should have done these renovations years ago, and they're getting Jim to do it. And so they knew they had to go because they knew they couldn't afford to do the renovations, and they found someone stupid enough to give them the money to stay in and do the renovations. But continuing on, Varane and Martial look likely to leave. It was said on Martial, there are clubs interested in signing Martial. Now, I think that was particularly interesting from Romano, that he's actually said, look, clubs that are out there are interested in signing Martial. Martial was a guy that I knew United would be open to selling, but I was like, will anyone want him? But he's not been injured this season. It's mad. 21 different injuries, and not a single one of them is Martial. He's not been injured this season, and it said a January deal could be possible. And this is coming from Fabrizio. This isn't coming from some random guy that chats crap. This is coming from Fabrizio saying clubs want Martial. It could be possible. It might depend on certain things, but I think Martial, people know, is going to be available for 5 million. Martial will know that they'll have to lower his wages. I do wonder though if Martial really wants game time, or is at a point now where he would rather run down his contract so we can get a big signing on boost than bish bash bosh and make a bit more money. I'm not sure, but it was basically said Martial exit and Varane exit. They are two things to massively watch out for in January. So if Manchester United do make some sales in January, who will they be buying? There's João Neves, there's Andre, there's Todibo, there's Nico Williams, there's Marcus Leonardo, who we did a video on earlier today. There are multiple people that have been linked with a move to Manchester United. And I think one of the most obvious moves and one of the places it's been rumoured Manchester United will start is in the defence. And we're going to get into that as well. If Varane was less of a professional, I guarantee more would be being made of the situation aside. I think there's probably something maybe going on with Varane and Ten Hag. I think maybe it's being exaggerated. I think Varane's such a professional that maybe Varane's not happy. He can't understand why Evans and Maguire are playing over him. He's looking for a move because he's thinking this manager's maybe a bit of an idiot doing that. And I think that's all what's to it. I think Varane could have done a Sancho, but he's Varane. I think Varane's professional. He gets on with it. I think if we start getting results, the Varane thing will blow over. I wouldn't be surprised if Varane's back in the team and playing to the end of the season. I don't think there's much in the Varane situation, but there's definitely something going on that's not quite right. Something definitely doesn't add up there as well. Nico Williams would be rapid fast, I think, for Man United, despite not wanting to leave Bilbao. Yeah, I mean, he's one of those direct wingers that can take on his man, and I think that's what United need, because it feels like none of our wingers can actually get past their fullback at the moment as well. It's so frustrating. So frustrating. Do you think Ten Hag having these conflicts with experienced players like Varane and Casemiro a couple of weeks back will have an effect on the possible French and Brazilian transfers to Man United? No, not at all. Not at all. I think they're just big name, older players on high wages. I think Ten Hag wants to go for younger players. I don't think it's going to make too much of a difference. Anyway, continuing on, what was happening on the transfer front? According to Fabrizio Romano, a new top centre-back is the priority for Man United. They will look into a January move, but if that doesn't happen, they will definitely sign a centre-back in the summer, says Fabrizio Romano. United definitely keen on signing a centre-back in the summer. It was said by Fabrizio Romano that Manchester United are interested in Edmund Tapsoba, but with Leverkusen strongly positioned, a deal in January would be very unlikely. It looks like Todibo is the most realistic. I think between Todibo and Tapsoba, I would go for Todibo, because Todibo has the ability to defend wide channels, potentially even fill in as a right back. He can cover lots of ground, cover lots of space, which is something we need in a defender, because he's very good one-on-one. He's very good on the ball. And I think in terms of a partner from Lisandro Martinez, I think Todibo's physical presence, his ability on the ball, his ability to cover ground, I think makes him the perfect partner for Lisandro Martinez. But we know in possession that Ten Hag kind of wants to build up in this sort of 3-1-6 formation, and I think Todibo right centre-back, Martinez central centre-back moving into the 6 roles, and Luke Shaw coming in as the left centre-back, I think would be the best thing United can do going forward, particularly in build-up, which would solve a lot of our build-up issues. So for me, I do think that Todibo would be the best option for Manchester United. Now, a transfer that I don't think is going to happen in January, a transfer that I think is way more likely to happen in the summer, is, of course, João Neves. Now, I think that João Neves is a fantastic player. He's a brilliant player. I think that we would need 2 profiles of midfielders, because I still think we need a physical midfielder. But it was said today by Fabrizio Romano that Man United scouts have been in Portugal to watch numerous names such as Benfica duo Antonio Silva and João Neves. It was said that João Neves leaving Benfica in January isn't likely. However, he's one to watch this summer. Man United are among the list of names interested in João Neves. It was said that João Neves has convinced Man United that they should make a move for him, but Benfica isn't in a rush to sell the player, who has a €100 million release clause. So Man United very interested in João Neves, according to Fabrizio Romano and other reports. United scouting João Neves, Fofana and Amadou Onana are the 3 players that are on Man United's midfield list. They also have an interest in Palacios, Andre as well, but it looks like João Neves and Onana of Everton are the two players that United are linked to like this. Monaco's Fofana's up there. And I think João Neves would be a summer move because of how much he would cost, and I think it would depend on the funds. I don't think United are in a position right now where they can spend more than 70 million on an individual player. I think we need so many players. Okay, Nico Williams, that could be 25 million in January or 3 in the summer. Todibo's 40 million. Potentially another young striker to come in to replace Martial and partner Højlund. Someone we can get the 25-30 million age range. And Nasio is going to be about 45 million pounds. And then you think, okay, do we have maybe 100 million there to spend on João Neves, or do we have to spend 50 million on Onana and bring in another midfielder? Where are the priorities? I also think come summer we'll sort of know which positions we need to address more. But I don't think much will happen with João Neves in January, but I think it's definitely one to keep an eye on in the summer. But it could just depend on price and what's seen as the priority. But we're definitely a big fan of this guy, and we know that Ten Hag wants that kind of technical midfielder, and I think he could complement Bruno well. Benfica has some class young prospects, but they get crazy fees for their players. We need to be box clever, and that's the thing. I love Antonio Silva, I love João Neves. I could click my finger and bring them to United, but the kind of fees that Benfica want is absolutely mad. That I think it's one of those we have to see. Gabriel Moscardo is a kid to buy. I need to do some research on this guy because a few people have been talking about him. I'll have to do some research and let you know as well, because I'm not super familiar as well. We paid 100 million for Anthony. João Neves would be good value. I mean, you can see it like that, but the way I want to see United is we need 2 midfielders, 2 centre-backs, a right winger and a striker. That is 6 positions. For me, 40 million Todibo, 40 million Inacio. That's 2 centre-backs for 80 million. That's 2 for the price of Maguire, 2 upgrades on Maguire for the price of Maguire. I look at it and I go, Nico Williams could be available for 3 if we're smart. So we'll probably go to Man City because it's such smart business. Man City will probably get him. Nico Williams could be 3. 2 centre-backs for £80 million. I'm thinking that is 3 key positions ticked off. Maybe there's a striker out there. Maybe it's Marcos Leonardo. Maybe there's another striker out that's a bit more experienced, that maybe we could get an older striker. Because I always complain about Man United buying 30-year-old strikers on big wages coming to the end of their career. But I think with Højlund coming in, maybe there could be a striker there. Would I say no to Lewandowski next year on the cheap? Absolutely not. Not that I think Lewandowski's going to come to United, but maybe there could be a £30 million striker there, which is just someone more experienced to come in for Højlund. And then Man United look at the midfield and they go, oh, let's bring in Amadou Onana. Or do they have that big money there to splash on João Neves? And if we've made sure we've got the necessary positions, perfect, because I think there's going to need to be 6 signings. And I'm a big fan of João Neves, but you've got to look at it like that as well. I'm a big fan of Marcos Leonardo. My only question mark with Marcos Leonardo is he the type of guy that will be a Fulham Villa player, or will he be a Man United player? There's no doubt he's quality, but there's players like Andreas Pereira that are quality, but they're a Fulham player. I think if you have a career in the Premier League, you're a good player. And Marcos Leonardo is a good player. He's a great young player, but it's one of those. Is he going to be a Julian Alvarez and prove that he is the elite quality to play for a team like Man United? Well, we're not exactly elite at the moment, but the quality a Man United player should be. Or is he more of a Villa Fulham player like someone like Andreas Pereira? And this sounds disrespectful to Villa because they're a much better team than Man United at the moment. But you get what I mean. Like in the long run, Villa want to be in that top 8. Fulham want to, there's this sort of Premier League level and Man United level as well. Newcastle and Madrid now linked to Leonardo as well, which does show his quality as well. Given how much we invested in Højlund, going for either a young 9 or an older striker to come in, yeah. I think for me it would be like a striker less than £30 million. The way I see it is 30 million striker, see if you can get Nico Williams on a 3, then 2 centre-backs, Inacio and Todibo for 80 million. And then if the funds are there, I'd go for João Neves, and then I would go for someone more physical that could play as a 6, depending on sort of Maino's development, if Casemiro finds form, if Amrabat starts. Because if Amrabat starts playing for United and starts playing well, he could solve some of those 6 problems as well. I think there's probably 2 midfielders that are needed, but I think it will depend on where we are as well. Joselu is actually doing good in Madrid this season, although I don't think he's the best option. But we could just get another Weghorst in if need. Now, I was joking. I don't actually want United to bring in Weghorst. We could sign Nico Williams on a pre-season in January, and I bet that's what Man City will do. You know how Man City got Julian Alvarez in January, but he came in the summer? They'll probably do that with someone like Nico Williams. It's just smart. Any deal that is so smart, and we're literally saying, oh, Man United should do that, they need a right winger. Man City already have about 50 right wingers. We'll go and do that. It's what bugs me about United. Now, another player that United have been linked to, and also Liverpool, many clubs have been linked to, and I don't think we're going to get Andre. I think it would be smart business. I think he's a great player. 30 million euros is a good price tag, but it's Fluminense midfielder Andre. I think he's a player that definitely could be quality. Definitely United have interest in, but I don't know if he's seen as a priority. But it was actually said that Fulham were expecting to complete the signing of Fluminense midfielder Andre for 30 million euros in the coming days. The only chance of the deal collapsing is someone comes up with a bigger bid. United are also interested and could arrive with more money. I do think this story, I think United like Andre, they're interested in Andre, but I don't think we're concretely in for Andre. I just don't think that midfield is seen as a priority in January. I think United could be linked to Andre a lot come January to fuel someone like Liverpool to put the money in. I think Newcastle want Andre, Liverpool want Andre, Fulham want Andre. I think United like Andre, but I don't know if he's a realistic January transfer target where United are going to make him the priority, because I think if United invest in January, it goes into right-wing striker or centre-back before it goes into midfielder, unless we get a midfield injury. But then I think it will just be one of those short-term loans. I do think Andre could be linked with Manchester United a lot come January to try and basically push one of our rival teams to put in a bigger bid for him. I do think that Manchester United could just be getting used there in that sense, if you get what I'm saying as well. There was obviously other transfer news going about, which Fabrizio Romano basically proved to be BS. Fabrizio Romano said basically Antoine Griezmann is not going to leave Atletico and join United. That's BS. And he also said that Bruno Fernandes is not going to go to Saudi Arabia, which is BS as well. So that was sort of the end of the sort of initial news that came out today. I do want to dive into some live chat. I do want to dive into some other bits and bobs that come out of players as well. And we have to move early and sign Nico Williams on a pre-contract, then offer some type of nominal fee over in January, 100% as well. And do you think we could get Valverde in the summer? He's such a good player, would be golden at United. Real Madrid like to sell us their players that are 30 that they're going to replace, not their young gems. But look, I wouldn't say no to Valverde, but it's like saying, are we going to get De Jong? Probably not going to happen as well. Watch Barcelona get Andre in January with Gavi out for 9 months. Slightly different profile of player, but I do think Barcelona will be busy in the January window as well. I have to say, apparently there's been 15% more injuries this season compared to last season, and this is the most injury-ridden season in the Premier League. And a big part of that is due to the fixture list. And I think they forget that these footballers are humans too. And I think the fixture list in football is absolutely crazy. There's more injuries this season than ever before. Everyone's getting injured left, right, and centre. And that is because of the fixture list as well. Keep smashing the likes, of course, subscribe down below if you're new. I do want to get up some other bits and bobs as well. We're going to talk about Varane to Bayern. There was rumours that Bayern are making a move for Rafael Varane. There's not enough in it yet for me to be like, oh, this could happen, this might happen. It's all rumours about Varane to Bayern, but it'll be interesting to see if anything develops in these Varane to Bayern Munich stories or not. But Varane is linked to Bayern. But it's complete goal. I think it's very much like we need a news story. There's a situation going on with Varane, this and that. I'm not sure if Varane's going to go to Bayern Munich or not. But I think there's Martial exits most likely, probably followed by a potentially Varane exit as well. After watching Fluminense a bit, they have a really good young nine named Kennedy. He's not linked with big clubs yet. Someone else mentioned that. I was watching a video on Fluminense and they're saying you need to, and people were saying people need to talk about Kennedy more. I watched the Fluminense game where they won the Cup, really good game. And what I like about Fluminense is the way they play football. They don't have like a position. Marcelo's almost playing as a number 10, but he's a left back, and it's pretty cool as well. Fluminense, the ability to cover so much ground, overload. I think Andre is a special player. I wonder how we would do in a Man United system, though. special player. I wanted to dive into something that I saw Ethan say on Twitter regarding the United centre-back situations, because this is sort of along the lines of what I've been saying in the video today, and I kind of agree with this for the most part. So let me just do that for you guys here. And basically, he says that United need 2 centre-backs over the next 2 windows. Ideally, someone like Todibo or Silva in January, and then maybe someone like Uncano Inacio in the summer. I think we need 2. Now, he said that with Inacio and Hanko, you want a player that's going to replicate the role of Martinez by stepping into the pivot, being the primary ball handler and the first fade, or you want to get someone like Jared Branthwaite, who's a physical demon and just a monster duel winner. I would go with someone like an Inacio there. And he said right centre-back, he would look at Silva. I can't pronounce that name, and Edmund Tapsova, who have qualities that could be really good as a backline leader and play as a central centre-back or a wide centre-back, depending on how we want to use them. Profiles with transcendable qualities, broad enough skill sets and situational intelligence. Personally, I would go with Todibo because I think he's very good wide. My first choice would be Antonio Silva at right centre-back, but I think he's out of budget. But for equal price, I'll go with Todibo, and then I would go with someone like Carlo Inacio at left centre-back. But I think it's very, very obvious that Manchester United need to bring in 2 centre-backs as well. No way is Varane going to Muppet League. I don't think Varane will leave. I really don't. I think Varane will only leave if we get a serious offer for him. I don't know what's going to happen. I think Sancho's going to leave. I think Martial could leave, and I think Varane could leave, and I think Donny could leave. But we expect players to leave, and then they don't end up leaving because of our wages as well. How will Luke Shaw improve us after the break? Well, with Luke Shaw coming back after the break, he's a guy that's going to be very good in terms of helping us with progression. He's someone that can help us progress centrally, someone that can help us progress out wide. He can provide width down the flanks and do those one-on-ones with Rashford. He can play at left centre-back. He could partner Maguire or Varane at left centre-back. Luke Shaw and Varane had a really good combo. A left centre-back, he can deliver crosses to Højlund. I think that Luke Shaw's return is going to be a lot bigger than people think. Luke Shaw can come in and provide those crosses to Højlund. Luke Shaw can come in and sort of do those 1-2s with Rashford, improve Rashford, do those overlaps and runs. But Luke Shaw is so crucial in build-up that I think a lot of people actually don't realise that actually having Luke Shaw back is going to be a big boost. I think Luke Shaw and Martinez was so key to our success last season. Luke Shaw, Martinez and Varane, those three at the back were like the glue a little bit of last season, because once that was severe game where Martinez got injured, things just went downhill. But it was said, by the way, by Rob Dawson, that both Malacia and Shaw are close to a comeback. And I think that's big, big news. I think that's news that we've needed to hear today, that both Malacia and Shaw are closing in on a comeback to United, because even like Malacia, who a lot of people don't rate, it's the depth. It's the more players back, the better. Once Erik ten Hag has a full squad, he can actually start implementing what he wants to play. We can actually see improvement as well. England are playing tonight. I don't know if I'll watch the game because I didn't watch the game versus Malta and I was told I didn't miss anything. But the England lineup has come out. Kyle Walker's at right back. I assume Rico Lewis is at left back, with Mark Gahey and Maguire at the back, with a Rice, Foden, and maybe Trent midfield, with Grealish on the left, Saka on the right, and Watkins up top. So interesting lineup for England today, but they'd probably be really boring yet again as well. But Maguire is playing for England. Rashford isn't, in terms of the England lineup. So, did anyone watch the England Malta game? I didn't, and I'm kind of glad I didn't, because apparently it was one of the worst and most diabolical games to watch this season as well. Varane is one of our best players, but if Saudi offer a decent fee and we can sign Todibo long term, makes sense. Exactly. That's how I feel. I like Varane. I think he's one of our best players. I think Varane is important. I think Varane should be playing. But if Saudi Arabia come in or we get a good fee for Varane, because he's in his 30s, because he might not have a good relationship with the manager, if there's an opportunity to cash in on a player in their 30s and replace them with Todibo, a player that the manager wants, the player the manager wants to sign, that is 22, 23 years old, then I do look at it and go, maybe this is a no-brainer. Maybe we do need to be looking at Todibo. Maybe this isn't. This is a very smart move. So, yeah, that is exactly how I feel on the Varane situation. I love him, but he's 30. If we can cash in on him and it means we'll get a good replacement, I'll only sell Varane if we're going to get a good enough money to get a good replacement, or he's just had a fallout with the manager as well. As Daniel said, guys, make sure you hit that like button and, of course, subscribe down below if you're new as well. Personally, I think the defence need beefing up a little bit as well. And I think that's why a lot of people are interested in the idea of Man United signing Branthwaite, because that will beef up the defence and give it a bit more ammo as well. Big up everybody in chat as well. Some players are good, but the media hype them up. I think there's a lot of players that do have more media hype. I still think Phil Foden is one of the most overhyped players. I think he's a good player. I think he's technically good, but people say he's England's best talent. He's got nothing on Rooney for me. Nothing on Rooney. Some players just have that media hype, and they always will. And I think, Onana's got the media dishype. Everyone was, treating Andre Onana like the biggest flop of the season, but people don't realise that Onana's been really good for United, bar those one or two mistakes early on, and no one's speaking about how good Onana's been recently for United. They made a mistake quite early on, but all of that as well. I want to show you something, guys, just because it's funny, and I don't get why people believe this, but there's a lot of these going about at the moment here. Boom! Man United update. Sheikh Yassim has made a new offer of $3 billion for 51% of United in 2024, plus an extra $2.7 billion for that. I mean, this is bullshit. BS. Like, Sheikh Yassim is out. He's not coming back. Qatar, it's over. People believe stuff. There's this guy, and there's a guy called United Yassim, and they keep tweeting stuff and putting stuff out. The Sheikh Yassim's coming back for United. And there's a few accounts that believe it and then message me like, oh my God, Alice, Sheikh Yassim's coming back out. No, it's people playing with you. This is why scams work, because people fall for this stuff. Sheikh Yassim is out. It's over. Ratcliffe is done. Ratcliffe's going to be announced. I hate to break it to you, but don't believe that as well. Xavi Alonso's Bayer Leverkusen they've been fantastic this season. I've only watched 2 Bayer Leverkusen games, but they've been absolutely phenomenal as well. Absolutely phenomenal. And look, as much as we wanted Qatar and we wanted a full sale, United Yassim, he's chatting out of his arse. There's nothing going on with Qatar. If there is something going on with Qatar, I will literally do a YouTube video where I will unload my bank account on one of my viewers, because I'm 90.9999999% sure those people are just absolutely spitting bullshit for followers as well. Interesting thing that's come out today, people. Interesting thing. Clicked on the wrong tab. Oh no, go away. Clicked on the wrong tab. Interesting thing here. I wanted to talk about this. I've just done a little tweet. We're comparing the United right wing options. Daniel James, Alanga, Anthony, and Sancho. Just having a look at this. Actually, this will probably be a little bit bigger. Can you see that? Is my screen shared? I'm hoping my screen is shared here. It's just comparing the Man United right wing options of the past. I thought it was quite interesting. You've got Daniel James in blue, you've got Alanga in pink, you've got Anthony in green, and you've got Sancho in yellow. And as you can see, Daniel James in blue and Alanga in pink is probably having a lot better season than Anthony in yellow and Sancho in green. You look at the output from our players, it's pretty awful. Dan James obviously is playing in the Championship, but off actions, assists, non-penalty goals, dribbles. Dan James and Alanga are having a lot better season than our current wingers, and they're playing for worse sides. I always thought that was interesting. And what I did do today, and this is a question for the chat here, but I said here, rank these 3 right wing options for United had from worst to best, because right now, Sancho is the best in terms of his ceiling, his ability. You'd stick him on the right wing if there wasn't problems with the manager, but Sancho's doing nothing. So you have to put Sancho at the bottom just because he won't play. And I would then put Anthony second bottom because he's been dreadful. I'd take Dan James over Anthony, and I'd probably put Alanga 1. Right now, if I had to pick one of these right wingers to play for United, and I'm not going to pick Sancho because he won't play for the manager, you'd pick Alanga right now. Maybe that's just me. I think Sancho is the best ability-wise, but I take Alanga over Dan James and Anthony right now, and Sancho's got attitude problems. So I was asking people to rank those wingers. So be interesting to see what you think as well. It's all about how they do at Man United. None of those right wingers done much for us. Yeah, I mean, none of them really did anything for us at all, to be honest. I think Alanga had glimpses of potential, but I didn't think he was ever going to be good enough for United. Anthony's done nothing for United. Sancho's done nothing for United. And Dan James just ran and worked hard. And Dan James actually had a good first season under Rolly, but he was never going to be like that Man United level as well. I think Amel and Palestri right now are United's best options at right wing as well. Do you think Jude is England's best young talent right now? Yeah, definitely. I mean, look, he's at Real Madrid. He's smashing it. He's scoring goals. Jude Bellingham, he is that guy as well. There's no one really better than Jude Bellingham right now when you think about it. Big up, people. Make sure you hit that like button if you haven't already. And, of course, subscribe down below if you're new. Remember, over on Alice Talks Football, we go live every single evening on the channel. During the international break, it has been a little bit every other day, but we do go live pretty much every evening on the channel and discuss all the latest Manchester United news, transfer news, updates, more. We do a little bit of a presentation at the start of the live stream, then we get into the news. There is reports that United are going to do a double raid of Everton for Onana and Branthwaite. That would be interesting to see. I think if Everton get relegated, there's some cheap deals there, but then we didn't swoop on Maddison. I look at it now and I think Maddison was available for £40 million and United never swooped on it. And that, I think, right now, if only we'd gone and got Maddison as well. If only we'd gone and got Maddison, £40 million. But Ten Hag wanted Mount. I actually think Mount's been all right when he's played. I'm going to back Mount. I'm going to be positive about Mount. But part of me just sit there thinking, if only we went out and got Maddison as well. I think Onana of Everton is good, but when you think of potential, João Neves could be brilliant. But I think Onana of Everton is good, but I think he's quite a Newcastle signing. And maybe United need that because our athleticism and our ability to cover ground is bad. But I see Onana being an Eddie Howe signing, and I think he would thrive best at Newcastle. Maybe because I'm not 100% sure what direction Ten Hag wants to go. But I think Onana's a good player. But it's there's João Neves, there's Onana, there's Andre, there's Fofana, there's a lot of midfielders United have been linked to, and there's not one that just really moves me just yet. But I do think Onana's a decent player. I think his ability to play as a 6-8, he's got the physical presence to cover ground as well. Alex B did say this, Maddison has a proper mid behind him. Yeah, he's got Basuma. I don't think we have done much better with him on our balanced mids. And I think you're right. I mean, one of the reasons I think that Bruno Fernandes is smashing it for Portugal at the moment, one, obviously easier oppositions and stuff, But I think it's the fact that he's playing with better players around him. He's got players that are good around him. Bruno Fernandes has created the second most chances in the Premier League this season. Second most chances in the Premier League this season created by Bruno Fernandes. But, you know, our attackers have only scored 1 goal from it. It's absolute madness. And I think it's not that Bruno is super, super bad. I think that Bruno's good for Portugal. I think it's the fact that actually the players around Bruno have been crap. Bruno needs to do better. But he's got second most chances created and he scored no goals for it. And if you look at Bruno at Portugal, he's got Palhinha holding, he's got Diaz and Inacio at the back, he's got people like Cancelo, he's got Bernardo Silva. You know, he's gone from Anthony and out of form Rashford to Bernardo Silva and Felix. Anthony and out of form Rashford to Bernardo Silva and Felix. And people wonder why Bruno's numbers and off the ball, this and that, are so much better at Portugal. You know, people wonder about that. But anyway, people, we are going to wrap up the live stream here. Do want to big up everybody for watching. It was only a little bit of a short live stream just because I know that the England game is on and that people will move to watch that soon. I mean, I don't know why you'd want to watch the England game. I bet we're incredibly boring. But please hit that like button on your way out. And, of course, subscribe down below if you're new. Let me know if you like the lives. I will be back maybe tomorrow live at 6 p.m. if there's news. If not, there'll be a video. Just because the international break, the news isn't as interesting because when the international break isn't on, I'll talk about the news for 20 minutes. We talk about football for 20 minutes. Our last game, the game's upcoming. Whereas we can't do that because I don't want to talk about England. So there might be a live tomorrow, if not the next day. But lives every other day for the international break. Lives daily at 6:30, obviously after the international break. Smash a like, smash a subscribe. Thank you for watching. See you next time. Bye.